Morning everyone, welcome you all. Today I'm going to take you modal auxiliaries. See, modal auxiliaries, I can define you what is modal auxiliaries. Modal auxiliaries are also called helping verbs. They indicate modalities, attitudes and feelings like ability, possibility, permission, obligation and compulsion, etc. So, modal auxiliary simply we can describe it is a helping verb to understand the sentence, you know, to make the sentence to give a meaningful sentence. So, it is finally simply called helping verbs. Now, I am going to explain where we use the modal verbs, what it express, and what we have to keep in our mind when we use this modal auxiliaries. First, I'll read one passage and look at the passage and how many places where modal auxiliaries used and what are the modal auxiliaries. Actually, there are 13 modal auxiliaries including semi-modals. What are the 13 modal verbs? Can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, must, ought to, need to, dare to, used to. Okay, these are the 13 called modal verbs. See, need to, used to, dare to, ought to, these are called semi-modals, right? Next, we will, as I said earlier, I'll read a passage and listen what is modal verbs in the passage. Okay. Sir Isaac Asimov said, science fiction can be defined as a branch of literature. So here we have to notice can be. So can is a modal verb, can be defined as a branch of literature dealing with the reaction of human beings to changes in science and technology. First, it is a ability. It is able, we can call it as then. The theme may be time travel. So maybe this is a kind of feelings and attitudes of whether it is a permission, request, ability, future possibility or advice or suggestion. This is what we call it as a modalities. Okay, and express the feelings and helping the attitudes. The theme may be time travel. It may be anything. So maybe it may be anything. It is a future possibilities. Okay, then. It is then parallel universes or extraterrestrial life. It need not to be just a fantasy. So here need not. It need not be just a fantasy and must avoid of supernatural. So need, must. Earlier writers used to do means here used to do means past habit. Okay, something has happened in the past that we are not following in current. So, writers used to abbreviate science fiction as SF, science fiction. S stands for science, F stands for fiction, and and last, children dare to read them, dare, it is very courageous and boldness. It express where we used in the sequence, in the situation of courage and the boldness creatures. Many books were published so that people could have easy access to it, but children of today would rather watch it on screen than reading. So could, where we use would is a place of request and invitations. Okay, then though they might enjoy watching it on screen, might, again the future possibility, if they have seen, they might enjoy. Teachers ought to encourage, whereas ought to means what is right to do. Encourage them to read science literature that will enhance their knowledge. So students should visit libraries to explore. So this is a paragraph. We can notice there is a lot of modal verbs used in the sentence in order to give a realistic, the authentic meanings to get understand. Next, I'm take you to the modals. Okay, what are the modals is there and where we used it. First, modal verbs, there are 13. I'll take you where, for example, can, where we use can, what the Can, it expresses the ability and the request. I will also tell you the sentence. Okay. So, as I said earlier, can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, must. These 9 modals that semi modals call need to, dare to, used to do, ought to. These are the semi modals. Now, I'll show you where we used one by one. See here, there are very few important, all models are very important, but here must. It expresses strong obligation and logical conclusion and certainty. So these are the situation we use. These are the ideas. While we use must, we can express on it. First, for example, you must stop when the traffic lights turn red. So this is a strong. Actually, if it is a must, then everyone should follow. So we cannot change it. We cannot. We simply cannot. We simply cannot restrict it, denied it. So we must follow. Then he must be very tired. He's been working all day. This is maybe certain. There must definitely there is a logic. If somebody is working very hard throughout the day, they must be very tired. So this is a logical conclusion. We conclude how the person should be, right? Then mustn't. So must is a follow. Mustn't, that is also mustn't, it express some prohibitions. Then you must not smoke in the hospital. You can see it in many times. If something we are not to follow, so it expresses must not. If somebody want to make don't do this, you must not do this, then obviously it is and comes under the situation of prohibition. So you must not smoke in the hospital. So that there may be a logical reason. If they smoke in the hospital, what could have happened? It is a cause. It is very wrong things. So that is what mustn't. Not even think about it. Then can, very easy, and the first model, it express ability, permission and possibility. So here first, see, there is a difference between ability, can and will. Can is the ability, will is a willing. So if I say that I can swim, it means I know how to swim, but I will swim means I have to come forward. I know one thing, but I have to take decisions. I have to take a straight action. So that is the difference. So here, can, ability, permission, possibility. First, I can swim. I means I know swimming. I can swim. Then can I? First one is ability. Second, can I use your phone, please? That is a permission. So if we want to make some request questions, we have to permit questions. We have to put model in front so that it can change as the permission. Then smoking can cause cancer. Next possibility, if you are doing these things, what will happen? So it is a possibility. Then could, past of can, could is also another model that expresses ability in the past. So how can we ability, how right now I can swim, so that is also could, ability in the past. And also polite, permission and possibility. See, look at this first. You should think that it is past. When I was younger, I could run fast. So not now. When he was younger, when he was in his childhood, he could run fast. But now he became very old, so he cannot. So it was a past. Okay, past ability. In his childhood, in past days, he could do it. Then, excuse me, could I just say something? It means polite permission, whether he can say anything or not. Whether he is allowed to say something in front of others. Actually, this is a very genuine and polite permission to say something. Then it could rain tomorrow. We used to say it may be rain, it might be rain. So that this is also possibility. It could rain tomorrow. So something said in a strong manner. Then may. Another model we are going to say is a may. It expresses permission, possibility and probability. First, permission. You all know, may I come in, sir? That is very simple. And where are my keys? That is a possibility and probability. Where are my keys? They may be in the car. Okay, see, if we left something, we can say that maybe it's there. That is obvious. That is called obvious. It must be there. This kind of sentences we use for may. Then might. That is polite permission. Again, the polite permission, possibility, and the probability. Might I suggest an idea? This is also polite permission, but we are not using in many sentences using might, right? But here, might I suggest an idea? I might go on holiday to Australia next year. This is a probability and possibility. If we get a chance, he would go. We used to say that, like, if it is a first person, he says that I might go on holiday to Australia next year. So in a strong manner, then next, need not. This is a semi modal. Need not is a lack of necessity and absence of obligation. First, I need not. I need not buy tomatoes. There are plenty of tomatoes in the fridge. So, necessity, if it is a necessity, then need. Need not, it is a lack of necessity. They don't want to buy. They don't want. That is called need not necessary here. Okay. Then, should, ought. See, these both words describes what is right. 50% obligation, advice should always, you should obey. You should listen to the elders. You should respect you. So this kind of advice and logical conclusion. See, here are some examples. That is, I should. It means I should, or I ought to see a doctor. I have a terrible headache. If you have a headache, that is a right choice to meet the doctor. So this is a right choice. That is a what is right to do on that situation. Next, you should revise the lesson. Yes, we should revise the lesson, otherwise we can't write exam. So that is the right thing before we going to write the exam. This is the correct thing we must do. That is the kind of advice. Then he should or ought to be very tired. He's been working. Obviously there is a logic. If anyone working so long, they must be very tired. They have to take rest. That is the kind of model here expressed. So next, what I'm going to tell you, how we have different situation, different sequence, and attitudes express in a lot of models in a particular place. There is also some restriction where we do not use models and where we cannot use models. That is first one. We do not use models for the things which happen definitely. For example, the sun rises in the east. So this is a solid matter. So we cannot use, for example, the sun can rises. The sun could rises. Could rise. We cannot write this kind of sentence. So we cannot. Finally, models, we cannot use the things which happens definitely, regularly. Then next, they have known yes in the third person singular. See, normal tenses we can, third person singular in present tense we use yes, but here he can play football. What does mean by that? He can. So it is the ability that he know the football, how to play football. But here we cannot write cans. Okay. Then questions are formed without do, does, did. Actually, see, if models comes front, it changes its position, it changes its meaning sentence into questions. See, all these auxiliary verbs, see, in model auxiliaries, we cannot use do, does, because the main model worked as a question. For example, can he speak Spanish? It means this is a kind of questions. Whenever model comes front, it changes. It gives its total meaning as a questions. Next, it follows a main verb in its infinitive. So first, what is that? We cannot use that they must read the book. They must read to the book or wherever it is. It is the main verb. It follows as a lead. Then there are no past forms except could or would. So could have a different meaning and would have a different meaning. For example, he was allowed to watch the film. We cannot write he was allowed to watch the film. No. So wherever use we was allowed. The one verb it's okay. Okay. Then when you use the past participle, PP, V3, you tell about the things which did not happen in the past. You should have told me. We cannot write you should had told me. We cannot write it. we should have, I mean, you should have told me this kind of the restriction we have it. And also we have some contract, contracted forms in the negative. For example, it is very you can write it in simple way. Can, the full form is can not, contracted form can't. So could not, couldn't. Then may not, we cannot say mayn't. Okay, might not only. And ought not to, ought to. Need not to, need it. Okay, for example, shall not is a full form shan't. Should not, shouldn't. Will not, won't. Would not, wouldn't. So these are the very basic and simple rules. The first one I want to make you sure, right? First, and what kind of places we can use modals, and what are the modals expressed in their position? The first one. Second one, what are the restrictions that we have while using the modal verbs? And the third one, long form, long term form and the contracted form. These are the models. These are very basic. So in the examination sentence, how do we know that where we use? Because you have to look at the sentence, get the meaning of the sentence, and know the situation, whether it is a, what the sentence is said, whether it is a ability, permission, whether they asking permission, is giving suggestion, is advice, kind of polite request, or it's their question. So we have to look at the sentence and get the meaning, and then used their proper model, that is called using appropriate model in their sentence. So I hope you understand very well. I'll give you a set of model verbs to copy down in your classwork. Okay, thank you children.